Hi, I'm with Scott Woon, who's the Executive Director of the National Forensic League, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the services that NFL offers and how that's relevant to you as a new or continuing coach. Thanks for joining us, Scott.
You bet, my pleasure.
Scott, can you start by telling us a little bit about your job and what it is you do with the National Forensic League?
Sure, I'm the Executive Director of the National Forensic League. My job is to oversee all of the operations of the league. The league itself is a membership organization of 3,000 high schools and about 500 middle schools in the United States. And there are about 125,000 active students and 12,000 active coaches in the organization every year. So my job is to oversee all of the membership operations and then serve as the national tournament director each summer for the high school national speech and debate championships.
For those who might not be familiar with the NFL or might not have grown up through it as a competitor, can you tell us a little bit about the history of NFL and how it came to be where it is today?
Sure. The National Forensic League started in 1925, and a set of coaches and our founder, Bruno E. Jacob, got together and decided that it would be a good thing if high school speech and debate had an honorary system, and there was an honorary system at the collegiate level, so that kind of sparked the interest in honoring students for participating in speech and debate at high school level. So the primary thing that the league has done since 1925 is provide honors and awards for the activity of speech and debate. And since then, our mission has expanded a little bit in the 87 years, and now we're really focused on providing the resources and services and advocacy necessary for coaches to maintain and build their speech and debate programs.
Now, one of the things that you've done recently, I know, is you've begun to expand into the middle school area. Can you talk a little bit about that new avenue?
Sure. We have it's really more than a feeder program now. It's its own program to recognize communication activities and speech and debate activities at the middle school level. And we do have a middle school national event that occurs, but the primary activity that happens within the Junior Forensic League is recognizing participation in classroom speaking. And it's a really unique opportunity for classroom teachers to receive honors and awards for their students for doing the very curricular items that they would normally do and involving speech and debate and evidence argumentation in that process.
Now, there are a lot of different national associations on the high school level that in one way or another intersect with speech, debate, and theater. Obviously, NFHS, EDTA, the Catholic Forensic League,
Sure.
National Debate Coaches Association. How do you relate with those other organizations in terms of providing services? Like, what's the relationship like?
Well, first of all of those groups that you mentioned are wonderful partners of ours. What we seek to do with those partner organizations is figure out where our missions overlap, and then where our missions overlap, it is our mission to then help advance what they're trying to do. So in our case, our ultimate goal is to advance speech and debate activity into every high school, middle school in the United States, and make sure that a student has that opportunity either in or outside the classroom. So anytime a partner organization like NFHS and its individual contact with state organizations, and anytime projects or exploratory groups or anything like that would connect with us, then we're happy to be a partner. We feel like our role is certainly in many ways for our member schools is a governing body role, where we establish most of the rules that are applied throughout the state organizations when it comes to speech and debate. And we feel like we have a pretty high responsibility in topic establishment in many of the areas and rules, regulation, and establishment. So it's where we would feel like our bread and butter is as a partner.
Right. And one of the things that I've really appreciated about the NFL and certainly the participants in this class are going to see a lot of is the resources that you've developed both in print and online for not novice or even experienced coaches. Can you talk a little bit more about your role in professional development as an association?
Sure. We have really in the last couple of years prioritized as one of our 5 pillars of our mission, they're providing resource. And what we do for the young and old professional is try to provide those things that would help an individual both in and outside the classroom. So we are just now finishing a very robust learning management system on our website that is an event portal, so to speak, to allow coaches or professionals to go in and experience the activity for themselves, use video and online learning tools to educate themselves on the activity before then using those tools in the classroom. So we're trying to create a kind of a multifaceted concept that the instructor can learn themselves and then apply to the student.
So and those obviously are great first resources for somebody to go to, but if I'm a new coach who really just doesn't even know what the right questions are to ask,
Right.
What do you recommend I do when I encounter those first problems? Who do I go to? Who do I
You call the National Forensic League. The one great thing about 87 years of existence is we've built up a staff that has its own customer service department. So you call the National Forensic League, you explain your particular demographic, who you are, what your situation is, where you are located. One really quality thing about the infrastructure of the Forensic League and its relationships with other organizations is we're present in all 50 states, and we have 105 districts which have their own leadership structure. So we are able to connect a new professional with our national mentoring program. And then, of course, in-house, we have several past coaches and professionals that will guide you along the way to success as a coach. So we still, although the internet and web-based learning and all those things are great, we still believe in the hands-on sometimes, that you just need to be able to pick up a phone and actually hear a voice and have that voice explain to you what you can do to be successful.
Now, one of the things that we've talked with a few of the other people we've interviewed for the course is the relationship between speech debate and theater, because unfortunately the and theater part sometimes gets locked off because of our emphasis on the rules that govern those other activities. And I know, at least formally, NFL doesn't have a theater competition, but it certainly has a lot of interp events. What do you see the relationship between NFL and the theater aspect of student activities?
Well, the relationship that our core mission is really centered around speech debate activities. However, as you mentioned, in our speech activities and our interpretation events specifically, and those that we support and provide resources for, these are overlapping concepts and educational characteristics and outcomes that match theater. I mean, they overlap. So we feel like the educational outcomes of our interp events in many ways do benefit the theater instructor and kind of increase that bond and support for theater. And it certainly is not a situation where the NFL is not extremely supportive of the educational benefits of theater activities, because our students see that. Many of the students involved in speech activities are theater students. It's just that speech activities allow the theater student the opportunity to participate in a little bit different opportunity, whether it's festival or competition, straight up, competition-oriented interp and speech events. It's a little bit different opportunity, but it still advances those same educational skills.
Well, and you've had a lot of former members that have distinguished themselves in the theater, in TV and film as well.
We have. We feel really fortunate that many of our alums go on to amazing careers, and that's something new also within the NFL. Is we have grasped our 1.5 million alumni base, so that when coaches are trying to create that advocacy argument, they can go to the NFL website and get a much better picture. And over the course of the next year, you'll see just a huge expanse of your ability to use our history to have your speech or theater program. Because in many ways, the people that are, in some ways, the people that are our alums, a theater program can use as an argument because they're known for their theater work or their movie and film work professionally.
Right.
So.
And I'm glad you transitioned to advocacy, because that was the next question I was going to ask you. If somebody came to you and said, I want to start a program at my school, or conversely, I have a program, but because of budget cuts, it's in danger of going away, what kind of arguments would you equip them with to make the fight?
We have a packet of advocacy resources that are available to anyone online, member or non-member, that makes a couple of key arguments. First of all, there's information that's provided, I know, by my friend here to my right, that compiled a bunch of information that's available through the Federation in a wonderful booklet that's available through the NFHS and through the NFL.
And it's required reading for the course.
Great. So, I mean, once you've tackled that, now you're looking for some specific things. We have some new things that just come out about civic engagement, which is really interesting, and that came from the Presidential Commission. And it's an interesting piece of literature, because it argues that if you're involved in competitive activities, but specifically academic competitive activities, and it mentions theater and debate very specifically in that study, that you certainly, studies show that you are more engaged civically. And that's an important thing when we start to look at the new Common Core state standards. Those are the articles and those are the arguments that you're going to need to make to your principal. And I think the best evidence that we have right now is the new Common Core state standards. I think that those were almost written with our activity in mind.
Yeah, argumentation appears very frequently in there.
Very frequently. So we have started to put a lot of information out on the website that argues to argument and teaching of argumentation in the classroom, because we think that is the link or the bridge that's going to be necessary for a coach to make that argument to their, whether it's to their department or to their administrator.
Are there any other things that you would like our viewers to know about the NFL and what it is you do and what you feel passionately about?
Well, we have really started to emphasize the importance of building a community within the speech and debate and theater world. Like Kevin mentioned earlier, there's a number of organizations out there that have objectives and missions that are really positive for the education, for communication education. The key is bringing that whole community together and building a sense of community so that an educator, a student, an administrator feels part of a specific world that will benefit students and benefit youth. And so we've put a lot of time and effort lately into a major pillar of ours, which is building a community. So the Forensic League is becoming a primary hub for social networking and our Facebook page and things like that to try to grasp the relationship and bring that whole community of alumni that were there, that could be judges, could be coaches for you, could do all those things, bring them back into the fold and to enhance that overall relationship. So, you know, our pillars are trying to be a leader in the community, building a stronger community, providing the ultimate rewards and awards for students, being a top resource and working with our partners in bringing the best resources to teachers, and then of course being the #1 advocate for the activity. And we hope we're successful year after year.
All right, well, thank you very much. We've been talking to Scott Wun, Executive Director of the National Forensic League.